right, everybody, welcome back to the Barely Bushy podcast. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I know I was supposed to put out content last week, but unfortunately I was sick, and the person I was going to interview was not available for a couple of weeks. But that doesn't mean that we just stop and don't put stuff out. We have a great guest for you this week, and I am super excited about this one. It's another YouTuber. I know that you guys saw in one of my previous episodes, we had Professor on. This guy has over 600,000 subscribers and growing, 15 videos with over 1 million views. His top viewed video has broken the 7 million view mark, which for people who don't know YouTube, that's a lot of people to watch. And I'm so happy to welcome in Subtrist. Subtrist, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man.
Yeah, we always appreciate the time, anybody who's able to come on. But for the listeners who may not know a ton about you, who may be tuning in, just tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of what it is that you do.
So my name is Subtrist, obviously. I've been doing YouTube for, I think I'm coming up on like 4 years now. But most people know me for joining Zoom classes and messing around in them. Ironically, we're on Zoom right now, so I found that kind of funny. But yeah, that's mainly what I do. I've been branching out recently doing IRL content, more vlogs and pranks and stuff. But yeah, I'd say most people know me from Zoom.
Yeah, so obviously 4 years is not a long time to have a YouTube channel, relative to what some people have been doing. So
Yeah.
how did you sort of get started with YouTube, or when did that idea come into your head? Like, oh, this is sort of something that I could see myself doing.
So I mean, when I was in, I've always wanted to do YouTube ever since I was a kid. But when I was in high school, Fortnite came out. And
Oh yeah.
I remember one of my friends, he like was playing Fortnite mobile and he like broke the squad's kill record, pulled like 2 million views. And I'd always been scared to do it. Just I was so scared of what people thought in high school. And then when I saw him pull just crazy numbers on YouTube from uploading a simple video, I was like, all right, if this kid can do this, I can do it too. So I kind of just said, screw it, made a channel. I did Fortnite videos. None of them really took off for the longest time. And I started streaming, and that kind of helped me build a small community. I think like right before I stopped streaming, I was at like 5,000 subscribers. And then I posted a video. It was like how to get better aim in Fortnite, because a lot of people said I had like really good aim. And that video blew up. For like my channel size, it blew up. It got like, I think like 20,000 views. I was like freaking out. I was like, dude, I need to start doing this more. And so I did a lot of how-to content on Fortnite, but there was just a point where I just got so burnt out doing it. I was like, this just isn't me at all. So I saw this YouTuber named Quick. He had played Fortnite, and I kind of got a lot of inspiration from his videos, but he switched to Zoom trolling content. I had never seen it before. This is like middle of the pandemic. Everything was shut down. And I watched it and I was just laughing my ass off. Like I had never seen anything like in a long time that genuinely made me laugh like that. I was like, dude, I could do this. So I started doing it. And the first Zoom trolling video I posted, I was just I was like, I don't care if this does good or not, like whatever. Like, I just want to have fun. It had 30 views the first day, like overall 30 views. I was like, dang, dude. I was
So
like, I
like
really,
nothing.
yeah. Like I put a lot of time into that video. I was like, dang. And then I went to work and I was just checking my YouTube analytics, and I just see it like goes from 30 views and then it just spikes like 1,000 views in an hour. I was like, what? And I was like freaking out. I was freaking out at work. And then it just started really popping off, like going crazy. And now I think that video, my first Zoom video, is at like 600,000 views now. And that was the most viewed video I'd ever had on my channel. So I pretty much just ditched Fortnite and kept doing that. And I've had so much fun recording videos on Zoom, and then obviously branching out from there.
Yeah, no doubt. That's got to be exciting when you're seeing lower numbers and all of a sudden you're just sitting there. It's like, wow, like this is something, especially because you were able to capitalize at a time whereas like This is the pandemic, so literally nobody can do anything. We're just stuck inside, and Fortnite is, at the time I've never gamed, but I would assume it was kind of dying out. Like it was popular, but I know that it was such like a competitive, I want to say field slash content field that
Hmm.
like if your stuff wasn't great, you weren't going to get many views from
No
that.
chance.
So it's cool that you're able to see that. I think in terms of Zoom trolling videos, you were like the first person that I've seen. It was really my brother who was like got into that stuff because there was nothing going on. And I know that you mentioned one name, but was there any other names that either growing up or sort of recently when you try to create your channel that you had in mind or that you enjoyed watching and you were like, this is kind of what put me on the road of I knew I wanted to do YouTube because so and so was hilarious or I want to be like so and so. Like, was there a guy or two outside of the one you already named that was like, oh, like this is a guy that I could do this and he makes a living out of this, and this is what I want to do?
Um, like definitely I had watched a lot of YouTubers growing up where I was like, dude, I want to do this so bad. Just because I thought it was so fun. And that was back when, people weren't making any money on YouTube. This was like people were just uploading videos just solely to do it. And me and my friends, we would always just screw around and upload just random stuff on YouTube, just for the fun of it. And I would say some really big inspirations. The GOAT PewDiePie, who's always been one of my
Of
favorites.
course,
Um,
goaded.
and then when Fortnite was blowing up, I really thought it was cool about like Ninja, Tfue, all the Phase people. I really looked up to them. I'd watch all their videos. Um, I mean, there's so many to name that I've just grew up watching.
Yeah, of course. And like you said, YouTube is something that it wasn't just because this, but even before it really blew up, you knew like YouTube is slash content creation is the way that I want to go. Not that doesn't mean that you couldn't do other things, but like this is what you're passionate about. So you're gonna put time into it because you actually care about growing the brand. Whether or not people think that what you do is stupid, because I'm sure a ton of adults do. But for you personally, you were like, I love this. This is my passion. So like YouTube is the route that I want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you I would say you've been blessed in terms of the growth of it because of the time you're able to hit it. For instance,
Hmm.
when I was talking to Professor, he had been doing YouTube, I think he said for like 10 years before it really started to take off. And he was like working full time. He went to college and it never blew up. So definitely hitting the aspect of the perfect timing of I'm going to capitalize on people not being able to do stuff by
Hmm.
jumping into their Zoom calls essentially and messing around and making content out of it, which is funny. But so you said there was a YouTuber that sort of how you discovered Zoom bombing because when it happened to me in one of my college classes, and I was like confused because I didn't see the guy's camera, but the dude like asked a question that sounded odd, and I was like, "What is happening?" And then he asked like three more questions, and the teacher finally caught on, and like the entire class was just speechless because we were like, what happened?" Because it was early pandemic. So like, how did you discover sort of that like, oh, you can hop into classes that you know nothing about and mess around?
Um, I've seen TikToks like right when the pandemic started and school went on Zoom. I saw a lot of TikToks of just people recording their classes, like people sleeping in classes and stuff like that. And then I have a Discord for like my community, and a couple people had been talking about it in there. So I definitely heard about it before I saw Quick's video. And then I saw more and more recommended videos about Zoom trolling after I saw his video. Matt Radiance, he's a big inspiration when I first started. He had some really funny videos where he would put like famous Twitch streamers, like he'd put some just out of pocket clips and then just join Zoom classes and play those. And so when I was first starting out, I took a lot of inspiration from him when I was doing stuff like that.
Yeah, and so the first question I have when it comes to Zoom bombing, because a lot of people probably don't know how to do it, or like when they see it, they cringe. But like, is there like a legitimate nervousness to it whenever you hop in? Because it's sort of like I don't know all these people, and obviously when you put a video out, the editing's there, it sounds hilarious. You got the sound effects, there's all that, but underneath that could be 30 to 40 minutes of you kind of awkwardly sitting there with a bunch of 60-year-olds in a meditation class or like a political class. And it's like, is there a nervousness when you get in and you're like, all right, I'm here and like, I'm gonna mess with these people, but like I would imagine there's some sort of nervousness to it, or at least in the beginning. Maybe not now because like you've been doing it, but at least in the beginning.
Oh yeah, when I first started, I mean, my heart would be racing, especially when you get in the class with 100+ people or even like 50+ people. It definitely gets your adrenaline pumping, but not so much anymore, just because I've done it so many times. But yeah, I was definitely really nervous when I first started out.
I would imagine so. I even like I know that even when people make certain videos like Omegle videos, I haven't tried to make videos, but like I've been on it and it's like when you try to be funny or try to do something that's entertaining, it's so awkward because it's like there's no sound effects. I'm like I'd be by myself. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing. And so like I'm super curious. Like I know that sometimes you break character, like you'll duck your head down like that and like
Mhm.
laugh, but like how are you able to maintain a straight face? Because when I'm watching them, I'm like, as soon as I hopped into a Zoom call, if I saw like my buddy pop up, like we're done. Like there is no way we would be able to mess with someone and keep a straight face and be dead serious about it.
I think it's just over time, just not breaking character after you've done it a lot. Because like if you go back to some of my older videos, like I would just cry laughing, and I mean sometimes I still do. I still break character sometimes, but yeah, I just feel like it's just I've done it so many times. It's just a lot harder to break
Makes
character.
sense. Yeah, you get I guess you could call them reps in, and then you learn more and more
Yeah.
about it. But another thing that blows my mind when it comes to this type of thing, and maybe it's because they just don't care, maybe because they're older, but like I've seen repeats in like your videos, and not in terms of content, but in terms of like leaders of groups. And so, do they ever say anything to you? Because like I can think of like Clive recently is like a dude who does like poetry, and there's I forget his name, but he was in the video where you were trying to make like an NFT of John Smithers, and like there's like an
Oh,
older
oh, Tom.
yeah, that guy, and like the Shauna girl. Like how do these people constantly not like how do you not pop in and they're immediately like, oh, we know what this guy's all about, so let's kick him. Like that's what I don't understand is these people who see you, know what you do, kick you, but then welcome you right back in.
So Clive is a legend. Like he is my favorite person in the world. I love Clive. Um, I honestly don't know. I mean, I feel like it's because a lot of these classes they host certain like poetry, or Shauna, she hosted this thing called Shut Up and Write. So basically you join and you write for an hour and you don't talk, and then at the end you kind of discuss. And so I feel like just so many different people come in and out of these meetings that it's just kind of hard to remember your face. I don't know how Clive hasn't remembered me at this point, just because I've joined his class so many times. But he's great. He's always so funny.
Yeah, the nice part is it seems like I don't want to say friends, but like there have been some people when you watch the videos, it's like these dudes are like chill, like they understand what's going on. Maybe some of them don't. Another one is I don't know his name, but that old dude with like the big Santa Claus looking guy, and like I
The
feel like he like
philosophy class.
yeah, that guy. So like, is there anybody that obviously sometimes like one person will get kicked and the other people won't? Hey, have you ever had
Mhm.
off camera or I guess off recording like conversation with people where it's like we like you kick so and so, but like we appreciate you letting us crash? Like, has that ever been like a conversation with someone that we haven't seen on content because for whatever reason, like have you ever had a genuine conversation?
Yeah, I definitely have. There's been times where I'm like, all right, before you kick me, I just want to say thank you for letting me join and stuff like that. But I've definitely been recognized a few times, and I think I don't know, I might have put him in videos. Uh I feel like I might have. I'm not sure though. Where they'll be like, "Oh, I know you," and then just kick me out or say, "You have
Yeah.
very inappropriate videos on YouTube." But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, most of the time people are cool about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think there's been like one that I remember trying to watch that was age restricted that was like recently. I think it was the Firecracker one for whatever reason. I don't know why
Yeah.
that was age restricted, but it was.
I think it's because I lit fireworks in my garage. I thought I could get away with it because Speed did it, and yeah, I just didn't
No,
go
yeah,
my way.
it's really funny how that works and how I feel like YouTube sometimes blocks or demonetizes videos when it's like, why'd you do that when it's not even close to like my
Yeah,
worst video? But it is with so in terms of getting the codes, like how do you like do you just look up on Google like Zoom groups? Do you go on Twitter and there's codes? How not that I'm telling anybody who's listening to go bomb classes like crazy, but like how do you get into these classes? Because obviously at this point you know where to find the unique classes, not just a boring sit down.
I wish I could say how, but
Okay.
I'm at risk.
Respect.
I'm at risk for getting sued, so
Respect.
that's the only reason why I haven't said anything. So
Oh yeah, that's respect. I don't want to not trying to record here and get you in trouble. I respect that, but I'm sure there are some kids out there who know how. And I mean, I've gone on Twitter before and seen like kids post like their classes, whatever, and they're like, "Yo, hop in my class and mess around,"
yeah, a lot of
which
people post on Twitter.
which can be dangerous, but there's
Yeah.
obviously all that. So another aspect of the videos, if people don't know, is a lot of times Subtrist will work with other YouTubers, namely like if you check out their channels, Nico's Cold, occasionally Timo's on there, Don Steve. Are these YouTubers that you knew beforehand and were friends with, or did you guys connect over this, or is there some other reason that you met, or like I said, have you guys known each other before the YouTube world?
I didn't know Nico is cold. Or like once I started making Zoom videos, I'd get recommended other creators who were doing Zoom. And so I saw his a lot and I'd watch his videos and he reached out to me right before I hit 100,000 subscribers, like, yo, you want to collab? And I was like, yeah, for sure. And then we became pretty good friends. We travel a lot and go to places. Same with Don Stever. I met Nico, or I'm sorry, I met Don through Nico. So I've definitely built a pretty good friend group through that. And then Tmall, it's actually crazy. I like grew up watching his Minecraft trolling videos. So I was definitely I was like, dang, when I first met him, I was like, this is pretty cool. But yeah, we're pretty good friends now.
I was gonna say a lot of these guys, obviously, the on-air persona is like we got to kind of be rude or kind of like mess around. But a lot of the guys seem like, for instance, I've met like Pooh Fesher off camera, and like obviously we talked a bit beforehand. Is it's funny where it's like no, like these guys are like genuine nice guys, but you're just seeing on camera like we have to do this because if we just sitting there, it's like you were to hop into Zoom class and say hey everybody, like this is my name and I'm just here. Well, there's no content in that. So
Mm,
you gotta be rowdy to an extent to, to you don't want to be extremely rowdy to where you break your mic or yell super loud or anything like
yeah.
that. But are these guys that you see yourself collabing with a lot in like the future and it like you guys see there's a future in collaboration with content? Because I know some YouTubers love to build their brand like, no, this is just me. I want to do that. And others are sitting there as we want the help and the more the better. Is this something that you can see a future with continuing to build with other guys?
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, I mean, just I don't even think, if we stopped collabing in the future, I still like we'd be pretty good friends. Just because we've all we've all been coming up together. And I feel like there's kind of like a new generation of YouTubers right now. And I just feel like down the road, it's great to have friends and people, you can make videos with all the time.
And no doubt. The thing I love about YouTube is that relatively speaking, in terms of time, just for like Earth, it's an extremely new concept, but it's definitely grown in the time that's been here. So you could say it's been around for a short amount of time. Obviously, it's younger than I am, being 23, but it's still cool that people have been able to use that to their advantage and build careers out of it. Because really,
Yeah.
there are a lot of people where sit back and you would think oh, this guy just plays video games and he's like super lazy. It's like, well, no, that's not necessarily the case. There's a lot that goes into that. And so another part to the Zoom that's probably slightly different than gaming, because I've heard that a lot of YouTubers, even if it's just a gaming channel, a lot of it is thinking back and thinking like, oh, I got to plan this, or this video is popular for this. So is there a planning that goes into it? Or are you looking at it as I have this code, I'm going to go in and just mess around? Or are you sitting back and thinking, oh, if I could say this or do this specific item, this will be hilarious? Because I've heard that a lot of YouTube making is thinking and planning, not just recording.
Hmm. Yeah, I usually have like a brainstorming phase where I'll just sit down and think about ideas or things I could build off of from my previous ideas. And usually, I mean, it sucks. It's always right before I go to bed. I'll think of like just a great idea that I know will do really good on my channel, and I won't be able to sleep for the rest of the night until I go and start recording that. But yeah, I always try and build a video around a certain idea, and then as I'm recording throughout the week, we do a lot of improv stuff. Like we'll just join and be like, all right, let's just think of something. We do a lot of stuff on the fly, but most of the time I try and just build a single video off of an idea and have, a couple clips for the title and thumbnail, and then the rest of it will just be improv stuff.
Yeah, and people might not totally understand the concept of how you're able to communicate off even when you're muted. So I would assume that you guys have some sort of private Discord that you're on, and so you talk through that, but then you mute yourself on the class. Like that'd be my assumption. So
We do like group Discord calls, and then we'll all just mute in the call and then go into the class. And then if we want to like say something to one another, it'd be like if we want to start pretending to argue with each other, I'll be like,
yeah,
all right, like say this or whatever, and then we'll do it. Sometimes we'll put it in the video, sometimes we'll cut it out.
yeah. What would you say when you're recording? Like percentage of the recording that the viewer sees. For instance, if you make an 11-minute video, is that
Mhm.
out of 20 minutes of recording, or is that out of like an hour or two of class crash? Like what percentage does the viewer get to see in terms of the work that you put in and messing around?
Oh, that's tough because it's so different every single time. Sometimes we'll join a class, be in there for 5 minutes, and almost all the footage is used. And then sometimes we'll be in like a poetry class waiting for our turn to go. And we'll be in there for like an hour and a half, and we'll use maybe 2 minutes of that footage. So I'd say on average, most of my videos, they'll see like 20%
Okay.
of what we actually do, just because it's cut so much just blank filler space out of it. So
Yeah, I gotta
that'd be
imagine
my
that
best estimate.
it might get annoying sometimes when you've literally sat down for an hour or two, just thinking back and thinking to yourself, this is kind of painful. Like I know that this is gonna be funny once it's uploaded, but this is an hour of me, maybe Nico, and like 8 old ladies just sitting here doing nothing. Like that's gotta be sometimes you gotta be sitting there like someone say something that I can do.
It's always the worst when you sit there for so long and you finally start talking and then you get kicked. I'm like, dude, I just wasted so much time, but it happens.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes, at least the way that it comes off is the best way to get kicked, or the best way, I guess, to get funny content is to just yell. Like, there's been times where it's quiet and you guys just unmute and just like, like you just yell and see what happens. And I guess, that is hilarious. And there's been countless times where I've laughed at when we were watching the videos. I'm like, I could never do it. Like, I couldn't because that's just me. Like, I don't know. I would sit there and I'd be like, oh, this is a great idea. This would make people laugh. This would be great content. And then if I were to hop in and look around, like, oh no, these are all real people. There's no way. And
Yeah.
it's so funny. There's the one video that I always say to my brother, whenever we rewatch it or rewatch clips from it, it confuses me to no end how some people think that you guys belong in the group. For instance, the one like high school reunion, I'm like, these
Oh
two
my
kids are like
god.
a good like 20 years younger than everyone here, so clearly not in there. Why wasn't as soon as they joined they were kicked? Like I don't know why they allowed you to just be there.
It's so surprising sometimes what you can get away with. It really is. That class, that was one of the funniest clips I've ever recorded. I had so much fun doing that.
Well, I was gonna say, I'm for the sake of keeping it clean, I'm not gonna say the full line, but the Randy clip is your second most watched video. It's like a 10-second clip, but it's got like over 5 million views, which is
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah, that clip, I actually posted that on TikTok right before I got banned. And because I usually like read comments and usually like where people timestamp and they have a lot of likes, I'll be like, okay, a lot of people like this. I'll put that clip on TikTok. And
Yeah.
usually it does pretty good. But for some reason, that clip just went stupid viral. Like it had like 8 million views on TikTok in like a week. And I got banned right after I posted that from community guideline violations that every one of them I appealed, they got overturned, but I still got banned. So I just sat there and watched that video go up to over 8 million views and I couldn't log into that account. And so I
They
was
never
like, all right, screw it. I'm posting this on YouTube.
they never explained why they were just banned. I mean, there's nothing in that clip specifically that would make you get banned that I can think of from based on guidelines.
It was all past videos. Um, it would be like, it would be like, a lot of them I get like minor endangerment for the ban,
What?
and I would like, and then I'd appeal them and they'd get overturned, like the video would be reinstated, but it said I had multiple guideline violations, so they just banned the account.
I didn't realize that that had been even more popular on TikTok than it was on YouTube because I know that on YouTube it blew up. I did not realize that it went that viral on TikTok.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then a lot of big YouTubers started reacting to it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a meme now.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I'm sure people send it to their friends all the time and get laughs from it. But thinking of class like that, is there anybody that you've had like see themselves on the video and reach out to you and is like, your content's actually pretty hilarious? Like, is there been anybody from the classes who was part of the class that was getting Zoom bombed and then later saw your videos or found out that what you were doing and reached out and was like, no, like at the time I was mad, but this is actually pretty genuinely hilarious.
Yeah, I have had a couple people reach out. I don't remember like names or anything, but I've definitely had people DM me on Instagram and feel like you just trolled my class or something like that. And it's usually pretty funny. Or I saw a Spanish teacher actually posted one of my clips from her class that we Zoom bombed. And she's like, this is pretty funny. I can't lie.
I'm surprised, honestly, that there's so many. I guess it's just the new wave and the new way of life and technology and the growth and learning to, I guess, grow as a community and grow friend groups and whatnot. But I'm surprised that there's that many Zoom classes out there that are still running, only because we're past the pandemic for the most part. And I think that the vaccine argument and all that stuff is over. I don't know of any city that's on like lockdown. So I'm pretty surprised that there's still a lot of Zoom classes out there because even if you watch your videos, there will be the occasional repeat, but for the most part, these are still classes that you've never been a part of.
Yeah, there's a lot. And I think people are just using Zoom now just because if you have, something you want to do that's not everyone can do locally, they'll it I'm trying to find the right way to say this. Like people can join from around the world pretty much. And so I feel like that's why a lot of people use Zoom now other than
Yeah,
staying safe.
that makes sense. Is there a certain class that you can remember off the top of your head that when you joined it and afterwards when you got kicked out or whatever that you genuinely had like a great time? Like, do you have like a top one or two classes or things that occurred in the class where you're like, no, this is an all-time moment that I've had, whether or not fans or the viewers think it's hilarious? I personally really thought this was hilarious.
Yeah, it was a video I uploaded around 6 months ago. It was the first time I recorded with Tmall, and we had like a Discord call of like 5 YouTubers, and we went into like a language exchange class, and I don't know why, but I just could not stop laughing because I kept drawing on the screen, and this lady was getting so mad, and she was like talking about contacting some security for the Zoom class, and we all just could not stop laughing. It was like the first time we'd ever done that, and I think it was like 11 o'clock at night, and we just had so many people in the call, and I don't know. It was just one of those times where
It, it,
The hardest I've ever laughed.
I'm trying to think. That wasn't the one with, because one that my cousin laughs at a lot is the one with that Nick Howe guy where you're like, who drew that?
Yeah,
And
that's the one.
that's the
That's
one
the
that you're
one.
talking. That is
Yeah.
one of like that watching wise is every time I laugh at, like I laugh when I watch it because it's like this is just like a timeless like hilarious thing because whoever is doing the actual work is so cool. You guys can do this and say it's not me, but then someone's hands are down. It's like, oh, that guy's hands are still down.
Yeah.
That there are certain sound bites or things that I don't think other people catch that they might not think is funny that I do. Like I catch smaller things. For instance, I guess not really a small thing, but I die whenever I'm watching that video and Bryce and Timo was like, Bryce, who was that pacing behind you? There's like someone running back and forth. It's the small things. They're so funny to me, but I would imagine that you have a lot of fun. Even if you have a whole clip or a whole class where you think this content might not be it, but it's got to be fun. I mean, you're basically screwing around with friends, but
Hmm.
you're doing it. And I another aspect that blows my mind is that so many people, I don't think they understand really how content creation is done if they're not in it. For instance, I've had a bunch of buddies because I've been doing like sports talk and TV and stuff like that, and now more transitioning to radio and podcasting, like
Hmm.
obviously. And one of my friends was when we were in high school, was like, "Oh, dude, like I could easily just sit down and talk about sports. Like that seems like fun." And I told him, I was like, "Yeah, you think that could go? That's how it is, but it's not. There's so much more to that. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
you think that you guys just hop into a Zoom call and mess around, but there's more to it than just that. Like there's a lot of beforehand, and obviously when you're in, and there's a lot of, I'm sure, post production and certain timelines that you want to hit. I don't know if you have released like certain days where it's like I want to put out videos specifically these days, but I'm sure that you have some sort of deadlines that you try to hit.
Yeah. I try and upload every 7 days. And I was on Sunday every Sunday, but I kind of switched to like later in the week just because it's the summer and a lot of people are out of school right now. So I feel like I'm kind of able to do that. But yeah, making content is a full-time job, and a lot of people don't understand that. But I feel like now it is kind of being more understood that a lot of stuff does go on behind the scenes with editing, brainstorming, recording. Like there's definitely a lot in any space with content creation.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For instance, when people even think about like us recording this right now, like this wasn't just like, oh, let's record. This was, I've reached out to 10 to 15 people and we were able to connect and that like open up. But then I had to plan out like what time, I had to figure out which day of the week worked and stuff like this. And afterwards, the most annoying thing is trying to convert files to get them properly to be edited, which can take like an hour just to
Yeah.
convert it. So there's a lot to it. And in terms of that, for you, is your post production like is your whole thing? Obviously, you may be working with like Nico or something like that, but is your editing all you, or do you have someone outside of you that does the editing and you kind of tell them I want these marks to be hit, or is it you sit down after you had the recordings and you edit it because you kind of know like this is what I want to see?
Pretty much every video up to my most recent one, it's all been edited by me. And then after my most recent video I just uploaded, that was done by someone. And I want to start moving towards having a full-time editor, but I still want to have creative control inside of that to where it still feels like me.
Mhm.
And that's one thing I'm really big about is I like to have my sense of humor in the editing because I feel like a lot of my audience really does like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, it can be a time saver, but if you watch it back, people could there could be a noticeable difference in the way that it's presented if you
Yeah.
don't review it and want to put certain clips. So I respect that and I get that. And that's another aspect that adds to it. If you want to create an 11-minute video, it could take, say, an hour to two of planning, then maybe 3 to 4 hours of hopping into classes, and then another 2 to 3. Like it could be a 12, 13-hour day to make this small 11-minute video that people
Yeah.
watched.
Yeah, definitely. And with editing too, I mean, I feel like it can easily be over edited. I feel like sometimes, when there's less editing and it's just the raw humor, it makes it that much funnier.
Yeah. Oh no, I would agree. There's some people that I watch and I'm thinking to myself, this would be a lot funnier if you didn't cut 15 memes in a 30-second
Yeah.
span to try to like boost. Like just go out there and just kind of be you and be the hilariousness that you know that you love to do and that you can be genuine but still do it in a funny way that drives in the viewers. And obviously your channel has been doing very well and continues to grow in a pretty short span, because I always make sure to do my research and like look at the different numbers, and it seems like even more so, I would say maybe in the past year is when like your followers have like drastically gone up. Since
Yeah.
2021 it's been like a huge boost.
Yeah, insane. And I feel like in this past year, I've learned more about YouTube than I have the previous years, just about analytics and really getting in the weeds with how to make good content.
Yeah, and that's great experience, even if it's one of these things where, down the road you want to do something else or YouTube is kind of your side thing. It's good to have this experience and learn even at a young age, which I mean, we're both considered young relatively, to
Mhm.
know all these things and learn about analytics, like you said, and statistics and how to put out certain time, put videos or whatever out at certain times or certain
Yeah.
days. Like these are peak viewing hours, these are like terrible times to upload. So
Uh-huh.
it's it's all great experience. And you've sort of, like you mentioned in the beginning, moving into not away from Zoom, but sort of expanding what you do into more real life stuff as well. Is that's got to be more nerve wracking than it is to do Zoom stuff? Because Zoom stuff, if someone getting mad or upset, you can just hit up, leave meeting, I'm gone. But like in person, you can't just leave. Like you're there. Like that's gotta be pretty nervous when you're walking into a store or walking on. I saw you guys do something on a golf course. Like that can't be easy to just like bolt up and go do.
Yeah, no. When I first started, it was nerve-wracking because I feel like when they see a camera or when certain people see a camera, it flips a switch where they're like, I'm gonna be hostile. And a lot of people get pissed off. But I feel like after doing it for like I think I've done 4 or 5 vlogs or like pranks. And I feel like I'm definitely starting to get like a rhythm down of like, all right, this is the boundary. I'm not gonna cross it.
Yeah.
But when I first started, yeah, it was pretty nerve-wracking. It still gets your adrenaline pumping when you go into a library with a VR headset on and you cause a ruckus.
Oh, I can't even imagine doing that. But are the in real life thing, is that something that you realize I want to do more and expand, or was that something that you were sitting around and it just came up, or like how did doing the in real life stuff? Because obviously the Zoom bombing has been like your niche and your popularity. Not that the
Mhm.
in person stuff isn't gonna couldn't blow up and it's not like hilarious, because it is, and they've, from what it seems like, have done really well numbers wise. So like how did that come about where you were like, I'm gonna expand and diversify and try to do some in-person stuff as well?
I've taken a lot of inspiration because mostly what I watch on YouTube is pranks and stuff like that. Like Jadeon calls it the mic'd up cult, where it's pretty much just third person vlogs where people will just record their life and then they'll throw pranks in there. And I really like the format because it's so raw and it's not over edited and nothing's fake. And all these people promote a really good message about, having fun, staying sober. And I just really like the group of people like Balin, Danny Duncan, Dizzy, like all those guys. And they're all coming up so fast right now. And I feel like um it'd be really cool if I could capitalize on that content just because of how fun it is.
Yeah, for sure. And it does take a boldness, because I know, like I've done a lot of stupid stuff growing up. There's no doubt about it. I've gotten in plenty of trouble for doing stupid things, but to just walk into public areas and do certain things, not that it's like, not that it's like you're not doing anything illegal. It's not like, oh, that's gonna get the cops called on me. Like you're
Yeah.
not, but it's like you walk up and you hand, specifically your one video, golfers a fake golf ball. I mean, golfers most of the time are like angry when they're golfing. Like they're not
Uh-huh.
having a good time, even though they say that they love golfing. They're
Uh-huh.
still angry about it. So to do that is pretty hilarious, and to collab with people and get that going. But I've got to ask, the in the store stuff. I've been in so many situations where I'll walk into a store and in the back of my mind, it's like, oh, let's throw this thing or let's mess around in this certain way. But then afterwards, I'm like, there's no point. Like I'm not. I'm not recording anything. I'm not a popular YouTuber. I'm not going to go live or do anything like that because I don't have a following. But it'd be really funny. Is there ever that moment right beforehand where in the back of your mind you're thinking this could go south? Like if this doesn't go right, this could go south pretty quickly.
Yeah, pretty much every time. Pretty much every single time I do something. But I mean, I feel like I do a lot of stupid stuff off cam when I'm just with my friends and we're doing stuff. Like we did go live on Instagram one night when we were in California for VidCon, and we were just throwing the football back and forth in the aisle, just screwing around. And then I accidentally messed up my throw and it knocked down like some toy buckets sitting on the top shelf. And this dude
Oh,
got so mad.
I think I was
Yeah, he
tuned in for
kicked
this.
Nico. Yeah, he kicked Nico in the leg and like started swinging on him. And we were like, oh my God, like what just happened? Because it was just out of nowhere. And he locked us in the store. And Nico pulled the I'm a minor card and he let us out finally. But that was, yeah, that was scary. I was really scared.
I remember because if it was late night there, then it was super late night because I'm on the East Coast. So I remember I think there was just a night where I was just like not sleeping well, or maybe I just didn't have anything the next day. I tuned in and I was watching in the back of my mind. I'm thinking, what? Because I tuned in late. What did these guys do where they got some dude kicking them and locking them in the store? I mean, my goodness, but I don't know. I don't know how legal that is to lock someone in a store. That doesn't sound very
Yeah.
okay.
We're like, we're being kidnapped right now.
And this is something that I've wondered because I've seen it not just with your channel, but literally anybody who does anything in public. Is it actually, and this isn't anything that can get you in trouble, but is it actually illegal or against rules to film in stores, or do employees say that just to get people to get out? Because I don't know the rule. Like if I walked in with my phone like this right now and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go record me, I don't know, riding a kid's bike around and bumping into stuff. Like, is that actually illegal, or is that something that stores say because they know kids are messing around and trying to be funny?
I think a lot of stores do have a policy against film. It's not against the law, but a lot of stores do have a policy against filming in their store. But most of the time when people have like their cell phone out recording, no one cares. It's just when they see the big camera, it's like something else. I don't know. They think it's way 1,000 times worse.
Yeah, that's. I'm sure that like you can see when you interact with someone that it's not going too bad, and then whoever is recording comes around the corner, and instantly you can almost see in their face, like their eyes change, their face drops, and they're like
Yeah.
look right at them, and they're super upset, and then the camera cuts off, and then it's back to however it was, and and the people in real life stuff, have they once the camera's going off asked, what are you doing, is this for videos, or why are you recording? Like, do you give them answers so they at least know, or is it just sort of we're kicked out and sorry, like we're posting this because it's hilarious? Or do people get super questioning with why are you doing this, where is this going to go, is there a purpose to this? Like how does that conversation play out?
Yeah, we were in a Walmart. It was when we were in California, we were doing the rude walkie-talkie prank. And this dude saw Nico with the camera walking away, and he followed us around the store like subtly until we got kicked out, and followed us out to the parking lot. And he was like, "What is this for? What is this for?" And we'd never stop rolling usually. Like we always just leave the camera on.
Yeah, because you never
And
know.
yeah. But he got to a point where he's like, I work for one of the biggest podcasts in the world. You're gonna make a really big mistake if you upload this. But yeah, he asked like 1,000 times what we were recording for, and I just never said anything pretty
Oh,
much.
what is he like? Was he Joe Rogan? Like, does he
I
actually have a
think
big
I
podcast?
I think he worked for Tim Pool, is what he said. I'm pretty sure that's what he said.
Oh, well, what are you gonna do? The worst thing that would happen would mean that you guys get featured on a big podcast, and any publicity is good
Yeah.
publicity.
Yeah.
So, but someone that I think it's just because of the way that he presents himself and the way that I just think it's hilarious. I just got to ask how Don is just as a person. I mean, he seems like someone who is himself on camera as he is off, but just comes off so hilarious. Like he just seems like the person that can make any situation a funny one.
Yeah, no, right. The first time I met him, he was joking with me and I didn't even know him. And yeah, he's hilarious. Like he makes any situation funny. He's one of the funniest people I know.
Oh, I would imagine so. And before we sort of come to a close, I have just a couple more questions. One of them is these video, I guess they're called vidcons or YouTuber cons or whatever they are. Like, what are those for? Not just for me, but for people who have maybe heard of them and not really been to them. Like, is it literally content creators go and you can meet them, or is it an exchanging of here's how you can do this, let's collab, and it's just between YouTubers or there's fans? Like, how do those things work? Because I know I've seen a ton of people go to them. I think recently a popular gaming YouTuber Burleezy went to one. So I've seen a lot of those things, and I know that you guys have posted on your stories, and you guys will post stuff about you traveling and doing different things. Like, what is
Mhm.
what is the goal of when you go to those?
So VidCon, this was actually my first time ever going to something like this, so I was kind of coming into it blind. But basically the gist of it is fans and content creators will all kind of go and just have meetups or network. And there's plenty of things to do for like fans as well. Where, you can go and look at different uh apps or ways to improve your content. I mean, there's just so many different things there.
I eventually would love to get to one. I don't know if there's anything on the East Coast. I have to look it up. But before I have the closing question, one that I love to ask people when they are, consider popular or growing in popularity is, do you ever get recognized in person or on the Zoom calls? Like, do you hop in or you'll walk into a store and someone's like, I know what you do, or you happen to call and right away it's, I've seen your videos. You've never done our class, but I've seen your videos. Or like you said, you walk into a Walmart and someone is like recognize you because compared to how many people there are worldwide, 633,000, not a ton, but for a YouTube channel, like that's a decent amount of people. And you got to imagine you're pulling them from all areas of the country and some people overseas. So I'd imagine that the occasional recognition of you could occur, which could potentially ruin content depending on what kind of fan they are. I know some fans could run up and want pictures or say whatever, ask you. Some of them might play it discreet and low key because they think you could be making content. Like, have you had fan interactions?
Yeah, definitely. I've joined a lot of Zoom classes where there's, other kids messing around in there and they'll know who I am, or they're either like it's funny, they'll message me in the Zoom chat and be like, I love your videos and stuff like that. Or on Omegle, I get recognized every so often. But in person, I've only been recognized like one time. That was when I went to LA it was like my second time ever going there, and a kid just said, "What's up? I like your videos." But yeah, mostly it's online when people
And
recognize
that's
me.
gotta be somewhat of a nice feeling because you're thinking, I don't know, 3, 4 years ago, you're just some dude. But now it's like, no, like there's some sort of recognition to what I do, which is nice. And also validation for knowing, you can get the likes or the views or the subscribers. But when you verbally hear people say it's validation that I'm legitimately putting out good stuff here.
Yeah, yeah, it's a crazy feeling. It definitely feels really good. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get used to it, to be honest.
That's true. So is there a goal that you have set for either the year or the channel, like certain amount of subscribers, video views? Like, do you have a goal right now that you're working towards?
Yeah, a million subscribers by the end of the year is the goal.
All right. So anybody listening or watching, hit the subscribe button like ASAP because
Yes,
we got to
sir.
we got to get that number up. And before we close out, what are your future plans for channel/content down the road? What can viewers or people who are new and don't know who you are and just subscribed and will get updates because they click the post notifications? Like, what kind of content or future plans do you have for the channel to continue it to grow and to get those views and subscribers up?
I definitely want to make the best content possible as I continue to grow. And I definitely, obviously I want to stick with Zoom because it's doing great and I have so much fun doing it. I feel like, once I get burnt out, I'll definitely switch to something else. But right now, I'm staying on the same track.
There you go. Yeah, that's always a good plan. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's the popular saying. You want to
Yeah.
quickly plug, your social medias or whatever. If you can plug them real quick. I know that one of your popular sayings in your videos is no promotion, no self promoting, but I'm not like that. I'll allow some self promotion here. Whatever you got. If you got like a merch site or anything like that?
Yeah, my YouTube is just Subtrist, Subtrist, and then I also use Instagram a lot, so you guys can follow me on Instagram, just Subtrist with 2 T's at the end.
There you go. Go give him a follow. Go give him a subscription. Turn on the post notifications. The content is hilarious. If you haven't watched it, check it out. I guarantee you that you're gonna laugh, and it's all good stuff. But I want to thank Subtrist for joining me. It's always a pleasure to sit down and talk to anybody of any walk of life, whether they have 633,000 subscribers and counting, whether they have zero, whether they're doing YouTube or not, whatever they're doing. Feel free to reach out to me. You guys know that you can find me, Bushy Blue Cheese, on any social media platform. Reach out if you want to come on and tell your story about what you're doing. Again, thank you to Subtrist for giving us the time, and we will see you next time. And I'm trying to give you guys constant content, but people have busy schedules. I get sick. You roll with the punches. You do what you do. I'm going to keep on trying to get out that content. Thanks for joining me, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for having me.